So today we're talking about Jamestown, which was England's first permanent settlement in North America. It was settled by the Virginia Company in 1607, and then it was in what we now know as the state of Virginia. Back then it was a colony. So the Virginia Company was made up of joint stock companies that financed colonies by having investors pay a share of the cost. This way, any money that was gained or any money that was lost was all shared by the investors, which lessened the risk for them. There was a lot of problems at first with Jamestown. First off, the settlement was on a swamp, which wasn't very good for the colonists. The people there, they all refused to work. They heard about all the gold that was there, and that was really the only reason why they went over there. They wanted to get wealthy. They didn't want to work. The winter was really, really bad, so a lot of people got sick. And then the Native Americans that were around them were not very friendly. Only 38 out of the original 150 settlers survived the first winter. John Smith, he really emerged as Jamestown's leader, and he made up this new role that if you didn't work, you didn't get food. So that encouraged a lot of people to step it up and get working so that they were able to provide for all of the people that lived in that colony. Now, it worked at first, but eventually things got so bad that they decided to go home. So they boarded a ship to leave, but as they were sailing away, they were met by a ship with supplies and more colonists, so they decided to stay in Jamestown. In 1612, John Rolfe and his wife Pocahontas, they started experimenting with growing tobacco, which turned out really well for them because it developed to be Virginia's first profitable export. So they made a lot of money off of this. It's actually their first cash crop, so it was a crop that they grew to sell. Tobacco's pretty gross, but it did save them. It was very labor intensive, which means that it was a lot of work, but it made a lot of money, so of course they wanted to do it. So the Virginia Company, they offered free land to people who settled in Jamestown. Now, 9,000 people came, but only 2,000 of those people survived, because again, it wasn't the best area to have a colony. Indentured servants, they were the first that were used to work on the fields. But then in 1619, the first slaves from Africa were brought to Jamestown. And then in March 1622, Native Americans, they killed 25% of the European settlers in Jamestown. So not looking too good for them. Some good things that came from Jamestown was in 1619, the first legislature made up of elected representatives in North America was established at Jamestown. This was a huge deal. They could make their own laws now. However, only property owners could vote to elect the representatives to the House of Burgesses. And back then, too, only white men could own property. The Virginia Company wasn't doing very well. They were not making a profit. So in 1624, their charter was revoked and they became a royal colony under King James. So that means he had the power to make all the decisions. And that's a little bit about Jamestown.